Property Investing with Abi. On today's episode, we have a very special guest and we're going to answer the number one question that I get asked probably on a daily basis. Should I use a letting agent for my portfolio or should I save the pennies and manage it myself? So we have James Forrester with us.
Thank you, great to be on.
Thank you so much. Would you tell everybody about your business?
Yeah, so we cover the West Midlands part. I have two businesses, but in this one I have two. So we're covered in the West Midlands Barrows and Forrester Property Group, where we are effectively an estate and letting agent. Been going now for 8 years altogether, but in the last 3 to 4 years, we've really built up our rental management portfolio, which is obviously what we're going to be discussing today.
And you've been in property for quite a long time, haven't you?
24 years career.
I know
I don't look old enough, but it's been a long time. One of my biggest reasons in property is, one, I wasn't very good at school. I was actually going to play football, and obviously I wasn't good enough at that. I actually moved overseas and learned a lot about new development in various different countries around the world. But I love it, and I've always said if I lose my passion, that's the day I come out, from that. But I still have the same passion today when I was 18 years old, when I was making tea for the boss. And that's how I look at it today.
So I get told a lot of times from people, especially now the interest rate's gone higher and they're trying to make, their money stack up and these investment deals stack up, that they feel like by cutting corners and not having a letting agent is right for them.
Yes and no is the answer, really. Look, if you've got the time and you've got the expertise and the knowledge and you're fully aware of all the regulations, then there's absolutely no need why you can't try and manage it yourself. I've been reading on from the white paper, from the Renters Reform Bill, still today 82% of landlords do not use letting agents to fully manage their properties. However, there's a lot of issues that come down the line, and most of them are with people not using letting agents. It's doing it directly. Tenants have a lot of protection at the moment. Rightly so, I totally agree. Not with everything, but I think they've got, they are paying a lot of money. They are building your property portfolio. You've got a property, you've got a mortgage. Not every landlord has a mortgage, but a good percentage do, and you have somebody paying it for you. So while the property may increase in value, you're getting the equity out of it, you're earning a little bit of money from this, you're not paying for it, the tenants is. So they should have a lot of protection on this. But, realistically, if you had to ask me, should we, just because I have a letting agent, so you really should be using a letting agent. There's a lot of legislation coming down the line. This Renters Reform Bill, if, when, how it goes through, is going to bring a raft of measures through, and it is going to be scary. And I think tenants are looking at it very differently. I think you've got tenants who are quite happy to go direct and want to, and there's normally a reason for that. And I can only go off experience. It's adverse credit, from that, and they want a different type of deal, under the books type of thing. It doesn't matter what job or profession you're in. If you're working full time, you need someone to manage it. I know in our firm, most of the calls coming in on day-to-day will be from the tenants, and it'll be property management issues. Little things like the light bulbs have gone, even today in 2023, that are not a landlord's responsibility. They will be asking for it to change. The boiler might need repressured. How do you deal with all this? And eventually, do you pay for it or not? And these are little things where if you're not careful, you can spend a lot of money on maintenance that you don't actually have to be paying, but you will do it because you're not fully aware of your full rules. And what happens when the tenant doesn't pay? How do you start the chasing? Because if you go too aggressive too quick, it will actually go against you. Have you provided all the right documents? When the tenancy started, how have you given it to them? Because I could go, here you go, Abby, here's your pack, and guess what you'll say if things go wrong? I didn't receive anything from the agency. But we have it where they've been emailed, uploaded into portals, so there's a full track record there. But I would always be using a letting agent just for peace of mind more than anything else.
And I could not agree more, and it's what I train and teach. So the last time I checked, there's about 177 pieces of residential lettings.
Please tell me you're not going to ask me to name them all.
No, I don't need to name them all. There's a lot of compliance out there, and you as the average landlord, what's your main priority? It's building your portfolio and building wealth. It's a lot of tired landlords that contact me, and they've been managing the property themselves for years. They've had countless number of challenges, and they're the ones that are like, they don't have a letting agent. But I've always had a letting agent because I want to build my portfolio. I want it well run. And but you're saying, I don't want to deal with the other stuff. I also think, because I've got a number of personal friends that manage the property themselves, and they get too personally involved with the tenant, and then they find it hard to increase rents or to do what they should be doing. And I think having that person there that knows what they're talking about.
Yes, that's a really good point, actually. So we offer like 3 levels of service. One's a let only, one's fully managed, and one's like an MOT takeover, just to make sure everything's getting done correct. And one thing you say there is getting personal, because people get attached it's a business. Yes, it's your house, but it's a business asset, and that's how you have to look at it. Tenants can use this against you. Unfortunately, we live in a world that this does happen. So if they've got anything, if you've promised anything on an email, it's not happened, this can come back to haunt you. It's a bit like inventories. The amount of landlords we see come to us now, and they'll say, here's the original inventory. Well, that'll never wash. It'll never work. So if there's any damage to your property and this goes to an ombudsman, you're going to lose this case all day long. And in Birmingham, we've just had a new part of legislation now, which is the new licensing. Yeah. So anyone within 25 of the 27, 28 wards of Birmingham have now got to pay a bit of a stealth tax, £700 per property for 5 years, unfortunately. Yeah. But you've got to make sure it's all done correct. And this is going to be a test bed for the rest of the UK. We can already see this. If this works in Birmingham, every other city is going to start to bring it in. And the whole point is just to stop bad landlords effectively giving tenants, a bad service. All the good ones don't have anything to worry about. But the good thing about using an agent is we're taking care of it all. Yeah. So we've done all ours. They had to be in by the 5th of June. Yeah. All our properties were in, on time, fully done. But we still have landlords today, unfortunately. And we are the type of company, we will get rid of landlords. If they're not servicing the tenant right, we are happy to notify the tenants and get rid of them. But it's about service. As you say, if you're someone building up your portfolio, you want someone looking after it. What's more important to you? Not getting a new boiler after 15, 16 years, which you would have done in your own house, to look after the tenant, or getting your rent paid on time every month, the tenant's happy, and you've got someone looking after your beautiful property.
Stop. Would you like to learn how to make £50,000 from property flipping? That's buying a property, doing it up, selling it, and making £50,000. If you do, click the link, and I'll see you on my live online webinar this week. Now back to the video. What would you say to people? Because the other challenge then is people go, yeah, I get that I need to have a letting agent, but how do you find a good one? Because again, there's horror stories out there of bad letting agents.
Yeah, 100%. There's awful letting agents out there, from this. You need to be asking them, I would go and sit down with them personally. Don't just rely on the internet. If you're not overseas based, but even if you are, get on a Teams call, see if they're prepared, to do video calls, meet the team, who's going to be dealing with you on a day-to-day basis, what sort of processes are in place. Yeah. For example, we use systems in place that you would know as a landlord when your tenant's paid, you get a notification. Yeah. You will know that money arrives in your account the next day or two because of the direct debit rules of cancellation. So they make sure that everything's covered and all your statements are fully there. Are you doing the checks? How good is your inventory? Yeah. Yes, you won't be able to see past records for GDPR, but if you're going in and you're speaking to people, they'll be able to tell you about everything they're offering. Yeah. You've then got to make a decision and go, well, is that worth typically 10, 12%? Yes, you will hear people going, we charge 4%, 6%. Everything's gone up in the world in price. Expect your letting agent to have put their prices up as well. If they haven't, alarm bells would be ringing for me personally, purely because you have to go, what level of service am I getting? Yeah. And I think for lettings especially, more than ever before, it's all about the service. Knowing that if anything goes wrong, you will be absolutely covered because that letting agent has done their job, to absolute perfection.
It's the old saying, isn't it? Price is what you pay, value is what you get. And I say that all the time because we do property training. We're not the cheapest in the industry, but you'll get what you pay for. And I completely agree with letting agents. So what areas do you cover? So we cover
the whole, most of the West Mids. So most things with a B postcode, but primarily we'll cover anything from Birmingham city centre, where we have offices, right through to the west of Birmingham, all the way up to Albury, so heading into the Black Country. And then we have offices in Aldridge and Lichfield, so if you are heading north of Birmingham, into the Walsall district, Sutton Coldfield, Lichfield itself, going a little bit further up to Alrus, if I'm pronouncing that right, because I do get it wrong a few times, that would be our main patch to cover. So it's a big patch, but we have a great team. We have the right coverage, we have the right experts. We make sure that we are putting them through the relevant, exams within an industry that we are unregulated. So we make sure that they are getting the right training to make sure that they are providing the best service all the time. And they're transparent. They'll tell you stuff you may not want to hear, but they do it for a reason, and that's to protect you and your investment.
And if someone wants to come and for you to take over their portfolio, how can they get in touch with you guys?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can look on the website, which is Barrows and Forrester. If you put it in Google, it'll come up. There's not many companies called this. So Barrows and Forrester Property Group. Or if you want to get in contact with me, look, you can ring the office directly and ask. And the number for the Birmingham office is 0121 296 2600.
I'm impressed you know that.
I nearly forgot it. I don't ring myself, so I did nearly forget that. yeah, if you want to come through the company, on that, we are more than happy. I will come and meet you. It doesn't matter if you have 1 property or 100 properties. It's the same level of service that we give. We do block management. We already look after various blocks across the West Mids. So we are experts in what we do, and we will be totally honest on where we want it. If it's a good fit for you and it's a good fit for us, then we can work.
And for someone that's got a lot of properties, like portfolio 30, 40, 50,
Yep.
I know one of my fears is, if I've got to hand over to a different letting agent, is it a nightmare, or how does that process work?
Probably in the mind it is, because you start to panic more about the actual handover process.
Yeah.
The honest answer is not a lot, because we will deal with it for you.
Yeah.
But it will come down to your contracts that you've already got in place. If you've been doing them directly and you think, I need to make sure I'm fully covered here, I just want to get with the letting agent, then it's fine. It's a lot straightforward. If you're with various other companies, we need the contracts. We will read the contracts through and we will give you a full, what we call an MOT, and tell you where you would stand and where you'd be. We've had landlords left other companies who have had to pay notice periods off just to come to us to make sure that they're getting the right level of service. In London, you expect a good level of service, because good full management companies there will be charging you 22%.
Yeah.
As soon as you step away from the big London boroughs, it drops dramatically.
Yeah.
We're not as high as that, but we're not the cheapest, because we want the right members of staff treating you completely right and making sure that we've got the right legislation covered at every single stage of the way.
Brilliant. Thank you. Thank you for watching this week's episode of Property Investing with Abi. I want you to click and fill in your free wealth appraisal. This is going to give you a report on your wealth right now. So click the link below and get your wealth appraisal. Game changing, and it'll give you the blueprint and where to start.